everyone, my name is Nicole Guillaume and I am a psychic medium and tarot card reader with Guiding Echoes. So as a psychic medium, I have been able to speak with spirits on the other side and they have told me what it is like to die. And we're going to talk about that in this video, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, I'm Nicole Guillaume with Guiding Echoes, and in this video I'm going to discuss what happens when you die. Now, death, of course, is a topic that a lot of us don't like to talk about. It makes us feel uncomfortable. And one of the reasons we don't like death is because we know it's unnatural. Our soul is eternal, and so the concept of death, the concept of our life or the life of someone else coming to an end just doesn't feel right. And so before we get started, before I tell you the 3 different scenarios that I hear the most from spirits on the other side, is this. Death is nothing to fear. Okay, death is a very natural part of life. At the end of our lives, we simply step into another realm, and then at that point we get to decide if we're going to stay in that other realm, or the other realm might decide if we need to stay there to learn an additional lesson. We'll talk about that in a few moments. Or we come back, we do reincarnate, and we live a different life cycle. We can start things all over again. And so as a psychic medium, I have had the opportunity to speak with a lot of different spirits on the other side. And so I want to report to you what I've heard from them. So the most common thing that I hear from spirits once they cross over is that everything is actually very peaceful. Okay, so that's a good thing for you to know. If you are facing the end of your life, if you know someone who is gravely ill, you may be very concerned about what this process is going to be like for them, and you should know it's actually very gentle. At the end of life, what happens is a lot of different angels and spirit guides, and specifically loved ones who are already on the other side, will come to greet the person who's going to make that transition. So when someone dies, they are never alone. Even if they don't have family members they were close to, they still have guardian angels and spirit guides in place that will help them to make that transition. Okay, so no one is ever alone when they die. The way that it actually feels to die is you feel, the way that they say it is like, it's almost like Velcro. Like, that's the image that they give me. Or a snap. Like, you can feel the fine threads that connect your spirit to this body snap. And it's very gentle, it doesn't hurt, but it is, from what they say, or from what the impressions I get when I'm tuned into them, it's a very gentle sensation. So you do feel it. It doesn't hurt, but it's like a snap, 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 almost like if you were to go boop, 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 boop. That's the closest I can get to, the feelings that they gave me when they were trying to explain it. So it's this very gentle rip. It's this very gentle pulling away when you come out of your body that you do feel. And they're able to, once they step out of their body, they are able to clearly see the people that are in the room with them or aren't in the room with them. And at that point, they usually step into the light right away. So there is a group of angels and family members waiting to greet them, either right at the doorway, right at the light, or on the other side. But there's almost always at least one, sometimes more, people or angels that are there at the footstep waiting to usher them in. So that, I feel, is very important for you to know, is that it doesn't hurt. The actual death does not hurt. And there's always someone there to usher you into the other side. You never die alone. The second most common phenomenon that is described to me from people on the other side are those who had very sudden or tragic deaths. And so when that happens, they're usually thrown into a state of confusion and frustration for a while. And if you've ever had a loved one who died very tragically or who died very suddenly, where they weren't expecting to cross over so soon. You may have noticed that there was some type of movement or strange phenomenon that took place in your house or somewhere around you, or you've heard stories in which this has happened to someone else. And the cause of that is this spirit that has unexpectedly crossed over. They weren't expecting it. So what will happen is they may move things around. They may take their fist and like pound the wall. And they're not doing this to scare you. That's the first thing you should know. They're not trying to scare you. They're trying to get your attention because they don't understand what's happening. They don't understand that they know that they're not in their body sometimes, but they don't understand what took place. They don't understand why they've died, why they haven't crossed over, why there's no light. They just don't understand it. And so that is a very frustrating place for them to be in. And so when that happens, the best thing that you can do is, if you notice that a loved one has crossed over tragically or unexpectedly, and you notice that there's strange phenomenon happening in your home, honor that. Honor that. If you don't feel comfortable speaking to that spirit, that's perfectly understandable, but you may want to bring in a priest or a psychic medium, a shaman, or someone of a spiritual nature that feels confident coming in and speaking to that spirit so they can help them to gain an understanding of what's taken place and help them to cross over, okay? So know that if there are scary things happening in your house after some type of death has taken place with a friend or a family member, they're not trying to scare you. They're not trying to scare you. They're trying to get your attention. They may have something that they want to share with you. They may have a piece of information. Sometimes what happens is once they do understand what has happened to them, they can feel guilty. They can feel guilty for making a quick exit and not saying the things that they felt that they needed to say. So they may approach you and they may have a message for you that could be something like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, or, I didn't mean what I said. Whatever's weighing heavy on their hearts, they want to get it off their chest. They want to relay that information to you before they cross over. Okay, so that's the second thing that I hear. The third one that is common among suicides is this. Well, let me just tell you one of the stories that I had from one woman who committed suicide. She ended up taking her own life in a bathtub. She had slit her wrists, and she just sat there by her body after she died. She just waited, and then she got really upset when no one came. It took hours before someone discovered her body. And then once the discovery was made, she saw how her life impacted so many different people, and she saw the intense sadness and despair that this action caused among the people she loved. And the thing that was interesting about her story is that she didn't realize how much she loved them or how much they loved her until she did this. She wandered around for quite a while, and her guardian angels were able to help her cross over. But when she crossed over, it wasn't that happy heaven, other place that we usually hear about. When she crossed over, it was kind of this different realm where it was, I guess it's a learning, it's almost like a strange spiritual classroom, I guess. I don't even know how to explain it. And it's hard to explain things that are on the other side, on the spiritual side, because what they have over there isn't what we have over here. So that's, one of the things that they experience. The other things that a suicide could possibly experience, and I want to be so careful talking about this, because I don't want anyone who is suicidal to think it's okay to take their life, or, because it's not. It's never okay. Life is the answer. Death is not. Death is not the answer. And I want to be careful about this because I know this is a very sensitive topic. I know that you've probably had someone who did take their own life, and you may have wondered what that was like for them. So they either fell into that category of this woman who really took her life because she was so depressed. I don't know if she was on medications or not. I didn't ask her. I don't have access to this particular spirit anymore. And it's funny because as I said that, she just came forward. She's like, yes, you do, honey. She was not on medication, although maybe you should have been. I don't know. She wasn't on any medication, but she just felt a sincere depression. You know, she just felt unloved. She felt unworthy. She had experienced a lot of loss. She says her husband had just left her, you know. So there was a lot of things that were happening at once, and she's saying right now, like, she just wasn't thinking clearly. You know, she wasn't thinking clearly. So when she took her life, that had been her experience. The second thing that I have heard from suicides, and this is, you know, hard to swallow, is the ones who leave this earth with a lot of anger and a lot of regret. When they cross over, they are thrown into this deep sense of confusion and darkness. Okay, it's like they can't see things clearly, like physically clearly at all anymore. Everything is hazy, things are dark. It's like they're literally bumping into walls, trying to feel their way around. Because they just have this deep sense of regret and depression, and I don't know how else to explain it. It's like what happens is sometimes people use suicide as a way to escape what they are feeling. So if they are depressed, if they are angry, if they feel worthless, intense sadness, if they feel an overwhelming sense of loss, if they've been grieving for a long time, if they've been in physical pain for a very long time, they may decide that they just want to end it all, right? And so what will happen is, in their willingness to escape this emotional pain, they will take their lives, and what happens is now this pain feels almost physical, okay? So the heaviness that they felt in life becomes heavier when they cross over, but it almost becomes like this physical sensation. So in our current physical reality, what we feel as a heaviness is really kind of a spiritual thing, right? You know how you can feel a heaviness in your heart. It's a spiritual thing. It's kind of an expression, but we still feel something heavy weighing on us. When you cross over into the spiritual world, that becomes your reality. So now that spiritual heaviness is an actual heaviness, and it's hard to carry. So what happens there is they are basically left to their own devices until they can really kind of calm down and come to grips with what they've done. Because there is a deep sense of regret and grievance and pain once they have committed this action. And so they're kind of left to their own devices until they can kind of calm down and until they can come to terms with what they've done. Because a lot of times they don't even believe it. That once they cross over, they're like, why did I do that? You know, it's different for everyone. You know, so I can't say that that's everyone, but you know, that is one of the things that are commonly reported when I have spoken to suicides. And so that's what they'll report. And then once they kind of get a grasp on it, then they're at a point where their guides and angels and loved ones can come communicate with them, can talk to them. Because while they're in that state of just, you know, it's just so intense, this intense anger. You know, a lot of times it's anger that they feel. When they're in that vibration, angels, guides, and whoever else wants to help them can't, because that spirit can't hear it yet. They're not ready for it. So basically they kind of, you know, their spiritual helpers take a step back. They let them do what they need to do. They let them express the grievance however they need to. And then once it's calmed down, once they're at a point where they can tone the anger or whatever down a little bit, that's when the spiritual help comes into play. And then they really kind of go through this spiritual counseling, and they do relive different moments of their life. And at that point, it becomes like this healing process for them. And some spirits choose to stay stuck. They're not willing to acknowledge what they did, so they stay in that angry vibration. They stay in that very dark place. And then others do have the, I guess you could say, the courage to move forward and to go through the work necessary to start taking their vibration up and releasing the burden, not blaming themselves so much, and moving forward. And it really is amazing how spirits on the other side, and even people here, they hold on to shame and blame so strongly as if it's part of their identity, and they don't seem to realize it's the very thing that's weighing them down. Like, if they could just let go of that. Anyways, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. It's hard for me to talk about this. Like, I'm feeling a heaviness just talking on behalf of them, and I know that's partly because some of them are in the room now, like, listening to what I have to say, and I also feel a lot of pressure in talking to you guys about this because it is a sensitive topic, and it's just a sensitive topic. So, you may be wondering, once the spirits have gone through their counseling, and they've gone through the process of letting go of the shame and forgiving themselves, and what happens then they're able to actually cross over into different levels of, I guess you could say, heaven, like different levels of the afterlife, because they have to continually work through that energy, and they will finally make it. If they go through this course, if they go through these levels, they will get to the point where they're with their family members and friends. And you may wonder why they're not able to get there immediately. Like, when it's someone who commits suicide, why don't they go to that place right away where they're surrounded by friends and family members who love them? It's because they wouldn't be able to accept love there either. If you can't accept love here, you really can't accept it there either. And the portion of the afterlife that we want to get to is the portion that is full of love. It's how we communicate with each other on the other side. And so, in order for them to be able to really communicate and be a part of that community at all, they need to come to terms with what they've done. They need to learn how to love themselves, which is very hard at that point. They need to go through their own counseling and their own grieving, and whatever they thought they were escaping, they didn't escape. It's still with them. So now they have to work through it, and that can take years. It can take a really long time. But the happy ending is that eventually they will end up with their loved ones. And so the message to you is, if you're in a place of hurt and pain, please seek help. Suicide's not the way. It's just not. I've had spirits in distress come to me who have taken their own life, and they're trying to reach out to their friends and family members, and I can feel their heaviness. As a psychic medium, I get impressions, and I feel what they're feeling, and it's a really dark place. So, with that said, if you're going through something like that, call a suicide hotline, get help. Really get help, because once you take that step, once you make that decision to take your own life, there's no taking it back. And that heaviness that you think you're dealing with now, it's 100 times stronger over there on the other side. You don't get rid of it. You actually make it worse, and you carry it. You carry it on the other side too. And trust me when I say, whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is you're blaming yourself for, whatever it is that you feel ashamed of, whatever it is you feel like you can't get past, you can get past it. You can get past it. And it'll take time, and it'll take patience, and it's going to suck, and it's going to hurt. But at the end of it, you're going to come out strong, okay? And then that way, you can live the rest of your life, and you can have a peaceful crossing like the other spirits that I've spoken to. So call a suicide hotline if you have to. Find find different ways where you can get the counseling that you need. Just start looking at different resources. And yeah, so, all right, good talk. So my name is Nicole Guillaume with Guiding Echoes. I am a psychic medium and tarot card reader, oracle card reader, Reiki practitioner, jack of all trades. If you'd like a personalized reading with me, you can visit my website at guidingechoes.com. That said, I don't want to put any false pretense out there, so I don't want you to think that I'm a therapist or a life coach. I'm not. So if you're dealing with something heavy, I'm happy to give you a reading on it, but you should know that if you're going through some type of crisis or trauma, you may want to talk to a psychologist or someone who can help you in that area. If you have a family member or friend or someone you know who's crossed over recently and you feel like they're trying to get in touch with you, definitely I can help you with that. That's one thing that I can help with. So again, visit my website at guidingechoes.com and you'll be able to find the different readings and sessions that I offer there. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I would like to invite you to subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when I release new videos in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Namaste.